Mm-mm-mm. We are live, orange and blue today, presented by Champ Honda and Cecil Lammey, and it's Andrew Mason, and it's Denver Broncos time. But first, a beautiful countdown. Just make sure to unmute me. That's right. We are back here for you, orange and blue today, presented by Champ Honda, Cecil Lammey, Andrew Mason. Tons to get to with this Broncos team. And Mace, Jerry Jeudy's return, is it imminent? Jerry Jeudy talked to us media types today, and it seems like he was close last week. I believe you even asked him about the warm-up last week and warming up before the game. Looks like Jerry Jeudy might be ready to go for this week against the Commanders.
Yeah, I did ask him that, and kind of specifically asked him, hey, look, you feel like you could have played if it were a different situation, like you were ready to go. And he said, yeah, he felt like he could have played, but the conversation that he had with Sean Payton, George Payton was involved with that as well, as we saw leading up to the game, led to the decision. But certainly that has him on track to play. I would be shocked, really, if Jerry Jeudy doesn't play in this game on Sunday, not only based on where he stood and how he was feeling coming off of the work last week and the pregame workout on Sunday, but then also being back out there today. We can't obviously say what we see, but my expectation is that Jerry Jeudy will play on Sunday.
Yeah, and Jerry Jeudy looks pretty good. Jerry Jeudy looks like he's near full speed. Wouldn't give a percentage, though, and I get it. You know, players don't want to be cornered into that percentage. But the impact of Jerry Jeudy on this offense, I think, Mace, cannot be overstated or understated. I think he'll be solid. I'm not expecting it to save the offense. Something we're going to talk about more on tomorrow's show and going deep. But, I think it's going to be a solid performance from Jerry Jeudy. But, people might be getting a little ahead of themselves if they're thinking Jeudy is by himself the answer that this team needs.
Well, they'd need some explosiveness, and how much can Jeudy provide on that? And let's face it, the last few years, Jerry Judy's been in the lineup since 2020 for most of the games, and the offense hasn't torn it up. Now, we do have those few games last year at the end of the season where Jeudy looked to have turned a corner. And if you take him what he did in those last 6 games of 2022 and extrapolate it over 17 games, that's a pretty productive set of numbers you'd be looking at. I believe around 1,200, 1,300 yards if you have that over a 17-game basis. Can he pick up where he left off? Will this offense allow him to do that? Because, of course, this offense is going to be very much dink and dunk. It's going to rely more on Jerry Jeudy's after-the-catch ability, which is something that was missed on Sunday because Broncos wide receivers generated scant yardage after the reception against the Raiders. Perhaps Jeudy operating in space can improve that a little bit.
Yeah, Jeudy operating in space and then taking those short passes and turning it into long gains. Plus, the thing that I love is you get the sense that Jerry Jeudy is chomping at the bit. You get the sense from talking to him in the locker room like he is ready to go. So a guy with a chip on his shoulder, and they need him to be explosive. He's their most explosive receiver that they'll use right now. Marvin Mims talk later, but I like that we're setting up for Jeudy to be hungry and ready to prove something.
Yeah, it's just a question of, is he going to have the time to operate that he needs to even break off the routes if things do extend beyond play structure, given the type of pressure that Washington's going to offer from the front seven. So there are other things in play, but yeah, it'll be good to have him back.
Yeah, it's good to have Jerry Jeudy back. And then, of course, Russell Wilson's game, and we talked about it, and stop blaming Russ. Russ was fine. Russ is going to operate this system. Having a guy like Jeudy, now all of a sudden it's moving the chains and it brings more excitement to the field. So again, Mace, I'm not going to go overboard with the return of Jerry Jeudy, but I think this is great for Russell Wilson. Again, gives him another outlet target that wins early, gets open early in an offense where he's commanded to get rid of it early.
Well, don't go overboard, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, it's not like this offense over the last few years has been overly productive with Jerry Jeudy. So I don't think he is a cure-all. The question is Jerry Jeudy operating in this scheme with Sean Payton calling the plays? Does that help? Does that help the offense get to a better level? And look, I don't think the offense was at a bad level on Sunday on a per-possession basis, but they're going to have to find some explosiveness, or it's going to be a lot of long drives that chew up the clock, but maybe they end in field goals rather than touchdowns if you can't get that element going.
Yeah, and get it going in the red zone, Mason. That's my concern about the Broncos. Jerry Jeudy's back between the 20s. You can move the chains and he can help and he can be explosive. But when you get inside the red zone, this is where we need to see Courtland Sutton. And I know he scored a touchdown, but a couple of catches and 30 yards and a touchdown, like more, please, from Courtland Sutton. And having Jeudy back will influence the coverage of Washington to hopefully give Sutton some more one-on-one situations. So when you get to the red zone, you can throw it up to the big man.
Well, and that's what he can do because he can win those jump balls, but he's not getting separation. So if you get him one-on-one with a smaller defender, that's where you set him up to make plays.
Yeah, you set him up to make plays. And then to the tight ends, we'll talk more about the tight ends on tomorrow's program. But like overall, there were some good things to take away. You have graded this team, denversports.com, where you can check out Andrew Mason's work, my work, and all of the stuff that we have written about the Denver Broncos. But in grading this offense overall, Mace, what is your final grade? As we sit here on a Wednesday, we're thinking Commanders, we're getting ready, but people are still bagging on this offense. I'm like, their grade was a little better than people might think.
It's a B-, basically. Good on the ground. Passing game taking what was there, nothing explosive. So I'd say B-.
B- for the Denver Broncos. So moving forward, we'll see what they can do. And of course, Jerry Jeudy, potential return. I don't think the injury report's been out yet because he didn't even say if he was listed as questionable. He's likely to be questionable. I mean, we know
that's not
games.
That's not going to be till Friday. It's questionable, though, Cecil. It's all that's going to reveal today is whether he's limited or full, and that was
limited
a question.
Or full, right?
Yeah,
right.
And that was a question he didn't even want to answer, Jerry Jeudy, when he talked in the locker room. I mean, basically, it's going to be on the injury report, and that's going to be that. But he didn't really want to characterize it. But he did look to be moving well when we saw him out there.
Yeah, did move well. We're anxious to see him out there. It is Orange and Blue today, presented by Sean Ponda, Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. And more pressure coming. Now, how is it coming? And where is it coming from? A conversation will continue again as we go to this team and go 0 sacks. It's got to come from somewhere. And you and I both talked to Zach Allen. You had asked him about Sam Howell. I did as well. But your question on Howell specifically, and we'll play the video for everyone on tomorrow's program, but like a guy that holds it a little longer. Jimmy G, God bless him, whether you love him or hate him, he's fast, gets rid of it quickly, always has. Now, you've got a quarterback in Sam Howell who plays a little bit more hero ball, holds on to the ball longer, so that means more pressure could be coming for the Denver Broncos and hopefully some sacks.
Well, it's pressure and it looks different. You just got to be persistent. Like Zach Allen said, against a guy like Jimmy G, if he's going to get the ball out quickly, you're focused on your gaps and getting your hands up. Whereas with Sam Howell, who's going to dart around a little bit like a deer, you want to just kind of keep going. You also want to keep him in the pocket as well. So there's going to be some contain elements, but when he's breaking things off, and by the way, I've got a bee flying around me. The bee is moving not unlike Sam Howell would when he's darting around. Anyway, and also if I scream like mad because I get stung, now you know why.
Yeah, well, look what Mace does for you, the audience. He sits around and gets stung by a bee. You're not allergic though, right, baby?
Well, I haven't been stung by a bee since I was 5 years old at a cousin's wedding in North Carolina. And the thing that I remember is how there were a lot of smokers in the extended family at the time. One of them used like the ashes from a cigarette to put on the bee sting. And I'm like, what is this? That didn't help. It made it hurt even worse. So hopefully
I was going to say, is this some sort of old wives' tale or witchcraft or something? Like I've never heard of using ashes on a bee sting.
I mean, we may have to again, we may have to revisit changing the schedule for the show on Wednesdays and Thursdays, just given how the Broncos are. Russell Wilson was still talking when we started this show because he had not talked when the locker room closed today, and so I thought, okay, maybe I'll wait for him. But then after about 5 minutes, I'm like, no, I'm just going to go get set up to do orange and blue today. But yeah, I'd prefer to be in the studio, but the schedule does not allow it. So
hey, Sean Payton's world, and we're just living in it. So that's what we do. Orange and blue today. Yeah. Pressure coming. What else can happen here? Contain middle pressures, what this team needs. And will we see that rotation like you and I have talked about? DJ Jones doesn't need to play as many snaps as he did. Can we see a little bit more of an Elijah Garcia, who did look good and did show up for the few snaps he was out there? How does more pressure get generated for this Broncos team besides everyone just playing better?
Playing better, but again, I don't know the pressure is going to be different, markedly different. I don't know if they're going to get there faster. In fact, I think Washington's front can keep the Broncos out of the backfield for the first 3.5 seconds, but it's going to look different in terms of the result just because of how Sam Howell will extend plays. But against quarterbacks like Jimmy G that get the ball out fast, I don't know that you're going to see a lot of pressure this year. And you got to see them win one-on-one matchups, especially on the edge. And that's something the Broncos didn't really do in week 1.
Yeah. So we'll see if they continue to do that. And we'll be out there watching practice for tomorrow and Friday, of course, reporting for you right here on Orange and Blue Today, presented by Champ Honda. So pressure will help the secondary. We didn't get a chance to talk to Damari Mathis today, but I know a lot of fans out there are curious, like, what can they do for that secondary? Guys not named Pat Surtain. Looking at Washington's injury report today, Terry McLaurin was a full participant. So if you have a Terry McLaurin who's full, he's got a little bit of a toe injury, which is never really a little bit of a toe. A toe's like turf toe, one, and it's super painful. But Terry McLaurin's a full participant, and you already have Jahan Dotson, and you have Curtis Samuel, who's a little bit banged up too. You have more weapons. They may not be household names other than Terry McLaurin, Mace, but yeah, they can bring it for Howell, who's going to try to play hero ball.
It's a deeper roster all around too. I mean, I think if you sat down and compared starting lineups with the Raiders and Washington, I think Washington would have more pieces that you'd want in the lineup. If you said, okay, I'll take a left tackle from Vegas or Washington, I think more positions across the board, you take Washington's roster, and it shows in just how deep they are. Jacoby Myers had a field day against Damari Mathis. I would argue that those three guys you mentioned, plus Antonio Gibson out of the backfield, all represent more dangerous targets than we saw from Las Vegas, with the exception of Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and Jose brings up Logan Thomas too. Can't forget about him if he's out there. Mm-hmm. Although I feel better about Josie Jewell in coverage than I did a year or two ago. But yes, more weapons. And that's the thing. You and I have been saying it since the schedule came out. Like, Washington's better than y'all think. Everyone's thinking it's W. And I'm picking the Broncos this week. Spoiler alert. But this is not an easy W. This is not a pushover team at all, who, by the way, they're thinking of Denver as the easy W.
It's not a pushover team, but as we saw with Washington in week 1 with Sam Howell, it is a team that will give you an opportunity or two, but you have to pounce on it. What kept Arizona in that game was Howell trying to buy more time in the backfield, losing the football, and it was a scoop and score in the other direction. So that's the kind of thing that Sam Howell is probably going to give you at least once in the game. And can you take advantage of it? If he puts the ball on the ground, can you pick it up and either return it for a touchdown or set the offense up in position to make a play? If you don't do that, then that's an opportunity lost. And that's the thing to kind of consider. You have to be able to capitalize when they give you a gift. The Raiders gave the Broncos some gifts on Sunday, not so much in potential takeaways, but in penalties, in mental lapses, that sort of thing. And the Broncos didn't capitalize. They weren't good enough. They didn't execute well enough to capitalize on them. Can that be different on Sunday? There will be things that Sam Howell does that give the Broncos a chance to make an explosive play from the defensive side and galvanize the effort. So we'll see.
And just look at the next quarterbacks that they have coming up. Not that Jimmy G's a stick in the mud, but you've got a Howell who can scoot a little bit. You've got Justin Fields, who's an incredible runner. You've got Tua Tagovailoa who can run. Like, you've got some quarterback conversations and matchups coming up where you better be ready for that extra element, true 11 on 11 football, when guys like that can just take off and run. And make no mistake about it, Howell could do that.
I noticed you stopped after week 4. Now, Zach Wilson can run.
Wilson can do it too.
In week 5, but the thing is, Zach Wilson really can't throw all that well. So we'll see. I don't even know if Zach Wilson's going to be in the lineup by the time the Jets get to week 5. Because definitely,
if they still have Mike White, he might not be. But Mike White's in Miami, so we shall see. We shall see, Mace. Let's talk about tempo as a weapon to wrap up today's program. Do you believe that the Broncos will use more of a tempo to feature their offensive and their weapons that they do have with a potential return of Jerry Jeudy? I think it just makes sense. Again, not revealing anything we've seen, not at all whatsoever. But doesn't it just make football sense to say, hey, tempo kind of worked. Let's use more of that this week.
Cecil, I missed the first half of that. You're going to have to restate it. I'm sorry.
Okay. About using tempo as a weapon. Because I think when we watch what they did against the Raiders, there were times when you kind of pick up the pace. I believe the Broncos, it just makes from a football standpoint, makes sense to go back to that, especially if Judy's back out there. Play a little fast break football. See what you can get. I
don't even think you need Jeudy out there to do that. I think what we saw at the end of the first half showed the proficiency when they go up tempo. And so I think they'd be wise to bust that out. You can't, not every time, but hey, late the first quarter, you get the ball back. Why don't you have an up tempo drive? Why don't you go no huddle? That doesn't have to be strictly at the end of each half.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the end of each half, but we shall see what happens there. It is Orange or Blue today. We are presented by Champ Honda. All right, Mace. Well, let's wrap things up for today. We got a show for you tomorrow. A very nice show with some nice video elements. So always good to tackle players together in the locker room. That was fun today.
That was fun. It means that we're not out there for Sean Payton. The Broncos kind of make you choose the coach or the locker room. And the best time to get guys in the locker room is right when the coach is talking. So there it is. But that's okay. That's the funny thing. I couldn't tell you what Sean Payton said today because the time that we've got here, the quick turnaround time, I have no clue what he said. So
did anyone else in the locker room talk after I left? You and I talked to Zach Allen, then I took off. Did anyone else talk in the locker room after that?
Javonte Williams and Mike Purcell did.
Okay. Nice. Well, interesting conversations to be had for sure. We'll continue that conversation for you here on Orange and Blue today. We're presented by Champ Honda. He is Andrew Mason. You can follow him on Twitter, on all those sorts of good social networking at Mace Denver. I've seen you on Instagram, Mace. So keep that up. I like the Instagram videos, by the way, and I like the signal. I think he gave us a signal. It's Batman 89, but I have a guess. I have a guess as to who you're signaling. So,
oh gosh, whatever.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Hey, I wear people always clown me about wearing a chain like a choker. And this is for my kids because when I did TV in Austin once a week, I would fly down to Austin once a week for 2 years. And my kids were young and they would miss me. And I said, hey, you see daddy on TV, he's wearing this chain. It means I'm thinking about you. Yeah. So we all have our little signals, right? It's fine.
All righty. Okay.
Okay. No chain for Mace though. No chain. You could rock the chain, baby. I know.
No, I can't. No, I can't. I'm not a jewelry guy except the Super Bowl ring.
That is a good call. I'll put my shades on for the end as well. He's Mace. I'm Cease. OBT is ABFD. We appreciate you for watching, everyone out there. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.